I
Think about
did.
posting them.
Yeah, great. I first want to say, yeah, I'm going to answer your question. It's in GSA Connect under, like we have a flyer for today's event focused on promotion and tenure. That's the purpose of our meeting today. And I posted those in the comments below that, a few resources, toolkits, there's templates and resources. And if other people have other things to share as we have our conversation today, we can post them. And I invite everybody to post to GSA Connect. We want this information not to just live in our minds and among us and between us, but this interest group has a life beyond today, and archiving resources and materials would benefit other scholars in their process in the future. And everybody's probably wondering, who's this lady talking? So let me introduce myself, and then I'm going to have a few of my colleagues introduce themselves. I want to say first, welcome to our event today, everyone. We're glad you are here. This is the last of our summer sessions. We've had, well, I guess summer, we started in February, so that was winter. But this is our Community Engaged Research Interest Group series of events that really were shaped out of the meeting that took place at the GSA annual meeting last year. And so this is the final one of those that everybody said they really wanted to learn more about, which is promotion and tenure. So I am Carrie Leach, and I am the current convener of our Community Engaged Research Interest Group. And I am really excited to have this event because it was kind of I would say the most pressing kind of issue challenge among our own community of scholars that deal with this in their teaching, clinics, research. And so I just want to mention the other sessions we had. One is archived, and that was led by Patty Sladham, who has been just a champion for our work. And that was such a great event on funding community engaged research. And that is on GSA's website. And I have the link, and I'll be sharing some links in our chat, but also populating a document so it's all in one place, including some of my notes that won't probably be perfect, but will include some links as and resources as people share them. So that was on funding community engaged research. We met, that was our most highly attended. We had 76 registrants for that, Patty, and I think 40 people that attended. And so that's great information. I'm really glad that's archived, and we'll archive this again today. And then our other program, I'm going to have to pull up my flyer because was on publishing and co-publishing research. And that was a great session. I think we had something like 30 people register, great attendance anyway. And today we're going to do promotion and tenure. I'm very excited that we have a speaker here who's actually gone through this process successfully nonetheless, which is exciting. And there's other people I know in this room who are some of the co-conveners, including Lana Sargent, who is one of the co-conveners of our Community Engaged Research Interest Group. And we can draw on her expertise in going through this process as well. So we invite people to share, add things in the chat. My co-convener, Allie Brothers, I'll let her introduce herself before I let Sudha go ahead and introduce herself and get started. But we're going to monitor the chat, and we welcome your questions and want this to be an interactive process. This isn't really like a presentation. It's meant to be interactive and encourage dialogue among and between all of us. So I think I've covered everything there. I just want to, I'm going to say this at the beginning and the end. We have our annual GSA meeting set. Thank you, Allie, for doing that. And I will put that information in the chat as well. It's really useful if you're attending the GSA annual meeting in November, please do attend that event. We shaped all of these sessions based on what we heard there, and that really is a great way for us to learn what the community of scholars need so that we can shape our programs for next year under the leadership of Allie Brothers, who I've loved working with over the past few years. And so, Allie, I will hand it over to you.
Thanks so much, Carrie. I won't speak too long. I'm really looking forward to Sudha's insights and presentation. I will give you the date and time and details of that GSA in-person meeting. It'll be great for all who can gather in person, but we're also going to do it virtually. So we can do a hybrid model, which is fantastic. Thursday, November 9th at the annual scientific meeting, GSA. Our interest group is meeting on Thursday from 3 to 4:30 p.m. in room 124. So I'm sure that you'll see more correspondence about that as we get closer. But if you want to add it to your schedule now to make sure that you're available, we'd love to have you. That shapes everything for the next year. And I will also add that we had our first webinar in the series this year in February was focused on brainstorming for the scientific meeting for this year. And we had 2 symposia come out of that with some really fantastic presentations. So this is a really neat group that can, I think those in-person symposia will be really great to get these, minds in the same room talking about the engaged research that they're doing, problems, challenges, solutions together. So hopefully we'll do something similar to that next year and really just continue to build on the compiling the great scholarship that's going on in this group and supporting new work as well. Okay, well, with that, I will turn the floor over to Sudha. Like Carrie said, if you have some questions, we'll be monitoring the chat, but we look forward to Sudha's insights on promotion and tenure with regard to community engaged research. Thanks everyone for being here.
Hey, hi everybody, and thank you all for inviting me today. And there is a survey that I had distributed prior to this, and the link has again been placed in the chat for you. So please do fill out that if you've not filled it out already. I think I've got about 6 responses so far. It'll probably take you maybe 5 minutes to fill. It's about 12 questions, and I don't think any of the questions are open-ended. If you have already filled out the survey, I had also put a couple of links in the chat, which I think Carrie will have, and she may be able to redistribute. These are graphic representations that will be useful for people who are in health-related areas of community engagement to help frame their narratives, tenure and promotion narratives, about the importance and applicability and the wide professional acceptance of these approaches. One is the National Academy of Medicine, that big blue diagram, assessing meaningful community engagement, a conceptual model to advance health equity, etc. Another one is what are the T0 to T4 research classifications. So these, I think, are going to be, I found them useful in the past, so I think you will find them useful too. Yes, there they are. Okay, while I'm waiting for the survey answers, maybe a few more to come in, I'm just going to ask, how many people here are in the process of putting together their tenure application? So I guess if you start now, you'll be ready by March, April, or, usually around May is when you have to give your packet, May, June. So if you're thinking about it now, you'll be actually doing all of it over this year. So how many people are in that position? If you can raise your hand, I'll just change this to gallery view. There's a way that I can see. Okay, I'm not really seeing anybody is planning to put their tenure packet in. What about your promotion packet to full?
Yes.
Yes, okay, fantastic. So that was my position 2 years ago. And can you share a little bit about your research and tell me about your institution?
Well, it's the University of Texas at El Paso, which is a minority serving institution.
Okay.
Yeah, some majority of Hispanics. And yes, so it's a new kind of thing to make available a path for promotion for non-tenure track like myself. So, but it's kind of new. So the guidelines are unsettled.
Right,
Yes.
right, right.
They're not, that we're all trying to figure it out together, I think, right? So
Okay, in a way that can be an advantageous situation. That's just I'm just thinking out loud, and if I'm talking rubbish, somebody please feel free to step in and correct me. Do you have allies who are more senior to yourself, who are in key positions in the university, in administration and senior faculty?
yes, well, my husband is is a professor,
Okay.
and that helps a lot.
Okay.
But also I've had mentors. My most direct boss
Okay.
has been a wonderful mentor and very
Okay.
supportive. And yeah, I can ask. I've asked for help, and when I have a question, I ask. And the people in the dean's office have been helpful if I had a question. Yeah, so within the kind of not knowing exactly what this is about, they are very helpful in guiding us.
Okay. Okay. So they don't know what this is exactly about, you said?
Yeah, it's a new process for everyone. Yeah, yes, fairly new.
So I
Yeah,
think that would be a really good opportunity for you to shape or seed the narrative. SEED, seed, not CEDE, seed. To shape the narrative, because you take control of it now. You want to get ahead of people who might say, this is not scholarship, or this is not research. This is not, you want to get ahead of that narrative. If you think there are any people who might be behind the times with regard to recognizing the importance and the methodology, the unique methods of community engaged research, you want to get ahead of that narrative and have your promotion packet, of course, very tightly tied to the criteria that are laid down for promotion. But you cannot assume that they know this. You have to explain it to them within the space constraints.
well, in that this university, maybe because it's a minority serving institution in the border with Mexico, has put a lot of emphasis on community engagement.
Okay.
So yeah,
And
so
that's fantastic, because then you say that with it, what you do is tied to the mission of the university.
exactly,
So that's
yeah.
kind of really easy there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you do not anticipate anybody anywhere up and down the system being uninformed or skeptical about having to spend time with communities, having to share power and voice in framing the research questions and in methods and in the kinds of research products that you generate. So it's not just professional conferences and academic peer-reviewed publications, but actually community education sessions and community education, like communications.
Well, the provost, for instance, who would be like, I think the last head, like higher rank person where the package goes to, who the package goes to. He has a lot of background in community engagement, scholarship.
Fabulous.
That's what I understand. I personally haven't dealt with him. I don't know. But one thing that I did, and this is because I have a 4-course teaching load, and I was doing research, and when I incorporated community engagement, which was in 2021 for 2 classes, one is online, so it was a different approach, but the other one was incorporated through research. And so the notion of community there was everyone is part of the community. So we're going to share the knowledge that we gather. So that was the first conception. Now I'm changing to community engagement through a neighborhood association. So yeah, that's something that I need to, I put into the narrative, right?
Okay, no, that's great. And I think Patty Slatham has put a very, very valuable suggestion into the chat.
Okay.
Have input into who is on your peer review committee and I'm going to say at the department and at the unit and higher up. To have somebody there who can advocate for this work. And Patty says she has been that person several times, and it does help the unfamiliar committee members to better understand. So that is another place to seed or shape the narrative. If you know that some people are there who might be unfamiliar, then you have conversations with different strategic people ahead of time. Saying, you know, anything, can I answer your questions or whatever, you know, just you figure out what is something to say, but to raise everybody's awareness up and down the system. And also when you seek external reviewers, I don't know how it's in your college, but we were asked, do you generate a list? The department will generate a list and we'll have a mix. So there also, I came up with a list, which was not that easy, but I also had a conversation with the chair to say that please find people who are familiar with this research paradigm. Otherwise, it's not going to look, you know, it's not going to, they're not going to be able to give an appropriate review. So
yeah, well, for non-tenure track here today, there's no external review.
oh,
within
fantastic.
the
Even better.
university.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is all very promising. Is it, and I'm going to go back for 1 minute and look at we're still at 6 responses. Okay. So is there anybody else who has a question or, 9 responses. So we'll declare victory and run. Okay. Oh. What is this? Okay, hang on. I'm just trying to, okay, here we are. All right, I'm going to try to share my screen just so that people have some idea what is, here it is. So 9 responses, everybody's at a 4-year institution that has graduate programs. Combination of PWI and MSI. And yes, this is great, a practice or clinical or applied scholarship track for tenure and promotion. This is really great because when I started out, there was only research track and teaching track. Finally, we had some senior faculty over the years who did so much heroic advocacy and changed the narrative in the institution so that we now have what is called an applied scholarship track. Well, one person says they don't know, that's okay. But if that's something worth finding out if you're going up for tenure or promotion, that find the track that best represents your activity and tie your narrative tightly to that. And then at every stage, if you feel that people in your institution are less familiar with what is required or what it takes to do community engagement, then you have to shape the narrative. Refer to articles and then say how like refer to previously written work that my work is community engaged. Here is where it fits into the overall scholarship, and this is my contribution. Okay, so some people say no, that the tenure and promotion guidelines mention criteria that can support community engagement. Like in my department, we have criteria that say technical reports count like peer-reviewed publications. I mean that these are the acceptable scholarship product. Technical reports count. So it's not just peer-reviewed publications. So that is something to advocate for if you are able to. Not clear and don't know, so got to find out if you're going up for tenure and promotion. So have conversations with the chair, with the dean, because once you clear, and with your senior colleagues, take everybody out for lunch one at a time and tell them what you're doing. Okay, most people say through the TNP guidelines of the school and university, so above the department level, school and university support community engagement. There's some not clear and don't know, but most people have said yes. Okay, this is great. Do senior faculty know about community engaged work and are they supportive? That is really, that's great. A lot of the work is done there. Mixed, some do and don't do. Admin, so admin may be a harder nut to crack. And this is where your mentors and your chair can be really helpful. I think Carrie has her hand up there.
I do. Sudha, I'm so glad to have taken this survey, and it really got me thinking. And what we heard in the last session is your institution might value it, but how do they measure it? I think Alana asked the question, right? And so, yes, I think I'm in an institution that very much values it, but I don't know if, how that specifically is measured for impact in my package. So, yeah.
That, and how that is measured, I mean, if there is an opportunity for you to shape the narrative, take that opportunity. So assume people don't know anything and then lay it out for them and just tell them it's important. So, does the mission statement of the university department unit mention items that are compatible with community engagement? Most people say yes, that's fantastic. Oh, this is great. Have senior faculty previously blazed a trail for work? That is what helped us in my university, that about 10-15 years ago, senior faculty who were professors at that time, the people in social work and peace and conflict studies, places like that, they really worked up and down the food chain, making the case for the importance of this work. And that's made it so much easier for the rest of us. Do you know somebody who can mentor you? 80% say yes, and the 20% who say no. I think that might be a good strategy to put your energy into, to find somebody at your institution or a peer institution somewhere. Has anybody gone up? Will 70% say yes? If you don't know, I think the person to ask is the chair or the dean. If yes, were they successful? 60%. Don't know, 30%. Unsuccessful. Oh, please tell me about who was unsuccessful and why. What happened there?
I could talk if it's someone else's experience. I'm a little uncomfortable talking about it, but I'll do the best I can. I actually heard about this, Sudha, from a community stakeholder who I had reached out to and had conversations with about collaboration. And she was so frustrated having worked with someone at the university that didn't get promoted. And so she felt like I had all this investment and time and years, and that person left the university because they were not promoted. And so I don't know that particular person. I just know that from the community stakeholders perspective, it's a lot of investment in building a relationship and collaboration, and to maybe not appreciate what it means to do the community engaged research. It was a learning moment for her to go, well, I don't want to partner with researchers if I'm putting people at some sort of disadvantage that will end a career trajectory or something like that. And so, yeah, hard to say like what that package looked like and what maybe the pitfalls were. And, but from the community stakeholder perspective, a loss of investment that actually deterred her from wanting to collaborate with researchers going forward. So there's a detrimental kind of, ripple effect of that.
Okay, yeah, so that is a risk. As you say, we don't know what the overall package looked like and what other things were going on. So yeah. But it's, on the other hand, it's also heartening to see that that was only like one case. The majority of people have had successful prior examples. So those could also be people to talk to if you can get examples, if they're willing to share the narratives that they wrote. And you can take, use that, get some ideas from there of how to frame things. And again, I think I mentioned it earlier, resist with all your might the tendency to just put your work into the bucket of service and then to discount it. It is whatever is translational, it's formative community engagement for research, it's translational work, it's a variety of things that are not captured when in the term service as it is commonly understood in universities. So what else? Any questions? Any questions for
Sudha, I apologize. I joined a little bit late. I'm interested in, you know, the place for like the not typical, you had mentioned technical reports, and I would, even though that may not count in a traditional promotion and tenure packet, but like, you know, working on a webinar or hosting like a meeting and a listening session, like how do you like conveying those really non-standard pieces of relation building in these documents?
What we were guided in my university was that when you conduct a webinar or a listening session, to keep information on numbers who attended and potential numbers who are impacted by this. So if it's, for example, you have 5 community leaders and each person has links to, you know, how many ever community members each, you can state that. And then you have in your presentation, have like either a summary or a before and after or something where they have an opportunity to say this of what value this was for them. And then that gets included in your narrative, that this that showing the impact of your work is what it is. So if you gather a few numbers on people who attended, who they are connected to, and what how they feel the impact was for them, that will really help your case. Another thing we were also suggested to do is when you have technical reports and you hand it over to the community agency, don't just stop there. In North Carolina, our library system is tied to something called NC Docs, and must be similar things in different states. Talk to your reference librarian, they will tell you. Upload your PDF into this library-based archive, so people who are searching can find and download it. And NC Docs counts views, counts downloads. So that is an alternative measure for something that's not a peer-reviewed article. And get those out as early as you can. If you're sitting on a pile of reports, like 2-3 reports, put them up like right away. Talk with your reference librarian, put them up, because you'll start collecting views and downloads. So, and somebody had mentioned about letters of support from community partners. Again, this is something that might vary from one institution to another, but talk to your chair, because in some places you get the letter and turn it over as part of your package. In another place, the chair does it.
Carrie, I think Sudha was talking about, it sounds like an institutional repository. Like ours is called PDX Scholar. Like that's what ours would be.
Something like that, yeah. So what it's called for us is NC Docs. NC must be North Carolina, and Docs. And so the reference librarian would be a starting point. Because ours told us, okay, this is what you need to do to upload. So make a PDF and, you know, make sure your name and affiliation and other things are what. So yeah. And what else?
This is Tina. A comment about, I'm new to my university, so I'm already tenured. I'm starting my 2nd year, but my former academic setting, there I recall that there was one particular scholar there who identified themselves as a community engaged researcher. So all of the things that you're discussing were some of the things that this particular person advocated for to be integrated into the RPT guidelines.
Yes.
And as I'm listening, I know certain times in the year, my academic institution always asks for community engaged, contributions, but it seems like scholars are still having challenges when it's time to go up for tenure promotion, even though the university is reaching out and asking for this information. So I put that out there. And the other piece I mentioned about this scholar at the former universities, sometimes it appears as if there's only one person on faculty who has expertise, but then the university is asking, okay, who's involved in community engagement? So I just find that seemed to me is ironic, and it might be an issue with education. Sometimes we're doing some stuff and we don't even realize that it is community engaged. So that's my comment.
Yeah, I think those are all really important, and they highlight some institutional gaps. One is the tendency of people to be in silos and not know what each other is doing. And so it's what we have found really, we have, like I said, our senior faculty did a fabulous job 15 years ago. We have a unit on campus, it's called the Institute for Community Engagement and Economic Growth or something like that. And one of the people whose articles I'm going to be forwarding to Carrie to include in the list of resources, her name is Emily Yankee. I'm just going to type her name in the chat. She's like the deputy director of that, and she has published very prolifically on community engagement and public engagement. And her boss is one of the senior deans. I forget the exact dean of what, but so there is that supportive institution. They do a lot of work of connecting people, scholars with community organizations and vice versa. But they keep this narrative going within the university. They have meetings with fellow deans, with chair council, with provosts, with everybody. And this narrative is constantly reinforced at different levels. Now, if there's turnover and a new dean or new person comes in, that person has to be socialized, and anybody who's going up at that time, it's maybe a little vulnerable, but we have this entity who keeps track of all community engaged scholars on campus. We have a community engaged fellow who's one of my colleagues, was the first fellow last year, who, so this is the level of institutional support that UNCG has put together over the years. And yep, there we go. Thank you, Carrie. She's put the URL in the chat. And this is a book. I'm going to hold it. Oh, no, here it is. I have to hold. Oh, God. Okay, never mind. It's this book, which is for some reason, it's called Publicly Engaged Scholars. Publicly Engaged Scholars. Anyway, I'll put that site reference in I will share it with Carrie. And I'm sharing these articles and book because if you want something to cite in your tenure and promotion material, saying that here is this huge history of research and scholarship around community engagement, and this is where my work, this is the substantive area of my work, but my approach fits into this paradigm. So, I mean, that might help. But more questions, folks?
Just as you mentioned, citing work, how important is it to cite sources for the package? I mean, I'm talking more generally. Sorry, I don't know if it's appropriate to the session, but yeah. And
I did in mine because I felt couldn't hurt, might help. And I think as academics, we are all so socialized to value citations and references that when we see that this is not just one maverick doing something on their own, but this is part of an entire movement, it might be helpful.
Great, thank you.
I was going to add one issue that I have seen at times is often community engaged research is so collaborative. it involves teams of people,
Yes,
and
yes.
showing your individual contribution to that team's output can also be part of the challenge of when you are putting your package together.
Yes, yes,
And
yeah.
I found it really helpful to look at some of the team science literature around promotion and tenure and applying it here. You know, like, how does a statistician who works on so many projects go up for promotion as the independent scientist, right? Well, we're not. We're collaborative team-based scientists. So how do you build that case? And I found that helpful, and I used it in my own process.
Yeah, that's a great reminder, Patty, because for tenure and promotion, at least in my university, we were encouraged and reminded, make your individual contribution clear. It's not that here's a team and you're just riding along with them. So in every section I had, you know, like, here's my first project. This is what the project was about. Here are the products of that. And then this was the team with the different expertise. This was my contribution. So I just systematically went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and did it like that. So anybody who had that question would have the information.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. I think I basically did the same thing where for each project kind of outlining your own, but you need to do it.
Yes.
Because otherwise the group who's reviewing it has these questions.
And Tina, for yourself and maybe for others who are in the, you know, like not in the exactly going up for a tenure or promotion right now, if there is an opportunity to serve on the tenure and promotion committees at any level, please take it. I was invited to serve before the pandemic, so like 2017, 18, and 19 at the university level committee. And that committee reviewed cases or like throughout the university that were mixed. So like it was not a unanimous yes or no. It was like a mixed. And so those were discussed, and then we generated a recommendation that was sent to the provost, who then made their own decision. So being on that committee was so eye-opening, because you really saw what kind of things people had tripped up or had questions about. And so I made sure when I put my own package together that I, you know, didn't make those same mistakes. Oh, another thing is this, that many people who publish in community engaged work, our journals tend to be a little more niche sometimes, especially if you have this, you're working with minority communities and it's community engaged, and it, you know, like, then the journal list gets small. And I just keep saying, these journals are for this audience, and they are considered impactful within that group. And so just this bald impact factor may not look so huge for somebody who values that. But just saying this, that these are appropriate journals for this subfield and are considered impactful within that subfield, that was something I said. It also helped that my external reviewers also said that, but you know, that's why it's good to have these conversations on picking external reviewers. Okay, somebody's saying something, but they're muted. Okay, I don't know. I didn't hear that. Did somebody, can somebody repeat? If that was a question, can somebody repeat it, please?
I didn't hear it either, Sudha. I don't know if that's maybe background noise from somebody
Okay.
maybe that isn't muted that's
Okay.
attending. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Any other questions at this time? Okay, it's 4:42. I think that is getting close to your cutoff time.
Sudha, I do have I was waiting for everybody. I'm happy to default and wait for others. I'm so glad to have had you here and to talk about this. I did put in the chat a document that I've been furiously taking notes on and adding links to that. I'm glad you talked about the, publishing and community engaged research journals. It's something I grapple with, right? My background and expertise is in health communication. And as a gerontologist, I want to add to the literature on involving and partnering with older adults, but it's like a trade-off, right? But so it's hard to deal with that. So I appreciate you, suggesting adding language like this matters, and the impact is not, the end goal necessarily, but this is a subfield. And if we don't build knowledge, then we don't improve processes and create standards and guidelines and insight for involving different populations.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that.
And involving different populations, without which there would remain these huge gaps in knowledge and practice. So it's like, I think for all of us here, that is, we're all preaching to the choir, but we have to open the eyes of those who have not yet.
Well, also, besides preaching to the choir, we learn that we have a few individuals that will hear this in the future too, beyond just today, but people that are very new to this that haven't thought about publishing the lessons they've learned in those partnerships. And there are outlets for disseminating that information in the literature. And I'll be sure to add a document that I benefited from learning from attending a summer intensive last year at Michigan State University on community engaged research, and have lots of resources. And I'll be sure to share that list of journals that people might want to think about publishing in. So I'll add that to our document. You are a wealth of information and your experience is great to be able to draw on. And so I'm also wondering if you'd be willing to share those slides. Allie and Dan and myself will be presenting as part of the symposium at GSA on the needs of community engaged gerontologists and our community of scholars. We had a survey that we distributed, Dan did in 2021, I want to say, about the needs, barriers, and challenges. And I think that this might be some great information to add to that as well. So I hope you can attend that session and or consider contributing to that session yourself.
Yeah, I'm not going to be in a position to attend GSA this year.
Okay.
These are the joys of being in a regional college in a red state, which is busy starving the beast, so to speak, and that combined with the demographic cliff and everything. So we have had gigantic budget cuts. And so I'm really sorry, but yeah, I will do my best to get these slides to you. I just have to figure out how to share them. That's all.
Sure. Great. Thanks. I appreciate that. And I'm surprised and happy to learn Allie's the one that actually coordinated our meeting at GSA, which is in the chat, and I'll repost it, that will be hybrid. So even if you can't attend in person, I don't know what Allie did to pull those strings, but it's really exciting. If you can't be present at the GSA meeting, you can join virtually for that meeting. And it's really a great way. I know that last year, those, everything that came out of our CEnR interest group meeting last year really shaped where, what we achieved this year in our group, and hopefully meeting the needs of everybody doing this work and helping advocate for people going forward to be able to involve community stakeholders in their work. So thanks for your wisdom, Sudha. And if you can join us virtually at that meeting, that would be great.
That would be fabulous. Okay.
And I give Gina all the credit for that. I am
Okay, great.
I'm double checking to make sure I'm not wrong here, but I'm not going to be able to attend, which is why I was really excited about it. So,
well, sorry to clarify.
Oh, no.
It's the in-person meetings are not virtual. There's an October meeting that's virtual, and then there's also the in-person that's live. So
thanks for correcting, Gina. So
yeah, unfortunately, we can't pull off the hybrid part.
Okay, so we'll have a separate October meeting.
If you signed up for it, and I can double check. You still can sign up for one though.
All
if you
right,
want to.
sorry, I misunderstood that. I was thinking that we were all set with our virtual and in-person hybrid there. Okay, well, never mind.
That sounds like a great opportunity. Thanks, Gina. Thanks for everything you've done to support this interest group in all of our meetings, and Jason Baker, who's here too from GSA. So a couple notes. If you go to GSA Connect, you'll find some resources. I invite others to post. We really want to be building an archive of resources, not for just everybody that can attend these sessions when we have them, but this, group will have a life beyond the meeting today and other meetings. And so please do share your resources and post to GSA Connect. It sounds like that October meeting is a great opportunity for us all to gather together virtually so that we get some insight and spend some time just understanding the needs, barriers, and challenges so we can shape our programs going forward. I would also just say this is my last session leading this community engaged research interest group, and have really enjoyed the benefits of connecting and with colleagues, and thankful to Daniel Gann, who started this. And you can see and read our bylaws and what it looks like to be a part of this group, including a co-convener like Lana is, like Sarah Diss is, sort of loosely as our peer mentor leader. She's been leading that for the last few years, and it's so enjoyable. And I'll be handing the baton over to Allie Brothers, who will be the lead convener for our interest group for 2024 and beyond. I would just say it's been a great opportunity, and we don't just lead it and then exit stage left. We have like a 4-year service role. So while I was a co-convener last year supporting Dan, I'll move to a co-convener supporting Allie going forward. And so and Lana has been very involved as a co-convener in this I think it's a 4-year service role. And so we invite others to join us in that, especially people, whether you're new or really seasoned and have gone through the process of being involved in this. We really welcome anyone to, self-nominate to be involved. I'm going to send out an email later today with links and things like that to everybody that attended. So if you would like to join us, we welcome you. It's a real opportunity to learn a lot from like-minded people who have gone through this, whether you're enacting this as a researcher, a clinician, in teaching, in whatever capacity that you're partnering with community stakeholders. There's a lot to gain here, and not just today and not through these events or the annual meeting, but also online in that GSA Connect. You can pull those resources as it makes sense for you, because we want to build the collective good. And as Sudha suggested, this really is, shaking up the culture of scholarship and teaching, and trying to continue to advocate for more voice and research for people that are studied, so that they have a say in how those studies are conducted, as they better meet the needs of their experience in the world, whether that's in their community or in a clinic or whatever it may be. So I just want to thank everybody for attending all year. Allie, do you want to say a word about, as our new leader?
Thanks so much for your leadership and all your great work in organizing some really important sessions this year. And then Liza Behrens from Penn State is going to be joining as a co-convener next year. So we're excited to have her on board as well.
Nice. Great to hear that. And we'll add her to our shared Google Doc. I also invite you, all of our past flyers and links, including to our GSA chat that Patty Slattam really took the lead on, which was funding for community engaged research. You can see the YouTube video link in that document, and links to the things that Sudha shared here today, past, present, and also think about penciling yourself in there as one of our co-conveners going forward. I'm shamelessly just trying to recruit here. But Dan asked me that specific question. Carrie, how have you done in folding new people here? I'm like, I'm too busy getting things done to do that. So I want to just follow through on my duty and make sure I'm doing a good job. Lana, anything that you want to add as a co-convener?
Yeah, I think I can add to your plug of that to say, in the spirit of talking about tenure, this is a service related item you can put on your APT and committee promotion packet. So it is good to get involved in your organization. So, we'd love to have more people. Yeah, it's been great.
Great.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
well, I guess we'll give everybody, Sudha, any closing words? I did take like as fast as I could your notes. I got links in that shared Google Doc. Anything you want to add closing out?
Just all the best for everybody who's going up. And when you're up there, please pave the way for the next cohorts.
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
that's that. I can't say more. Sarah, I know that you're here. No pressure. You don't have to turn on your camera, but I do want to thank you for everything you've done over the last year. And do want to say it. I want to give you a chance to say anything in closing because it's our last peer mentoring session, which I'm kind of sad. I'm going to miss those sessions. Anything to add?
Not much. I'm just really grateful for everybody taking the time to be involved and be engaged in building our own sub-community within GSA here, to be able to soundboard and work on these things together. It's been great.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks so much. With that, I guess we'll take 7 minutes of our life before the next thing we have to do at 5 o'clock mark, and thank everybody for attending. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you all for
Thank you so
organizing.
much.
Bye.
Thank you so much.